Hello and welcome to another video. This is going to be shot entirely from my computer because this is going to be the fourth part of my series about getting started with, or my series about building a custom LEGO 12-volt steam engine. Yes, this is my browser wallpaper. Yes, I love Hondas. So this part is going to be about two models that I built as a preparation for my final design, and these models were both built off of actual steam engines. So yeah, I'll just jump right into it. The first model that I chose was the DRB Class 41. So this is a pretty large steam engine. It's a 282 wheelbase arrangement. It's a traditional steam engine in that it has a tender, a pretty big tender behind it. And yeah, so I'll just click through some pictures of it. There are not a ton of really good pictures. I had to use what I could. So I'll show you the pictures, and then I'll show you what I did in Studio, which is the Bricklink digital designing software. That's a nice render. Yeah, so as you can see, that's the engine, and then I'm going to switch to my render that I made of it. This is the studio render. This is all custom. As you can see, it's got a lot of the same details, so I'll kind of click between the two images, click between the renders online and then my design. I think I did a pretty good job of recreating this in Lego bricks. I used probably more complex building techniques than Lego actually did in the 1980s. You can see I've also made like the wheelbase here. This is a little bit different than the 7777 wheelbase, but it's kind of the same concept where you have a bogie up front and then you have a bogie in the last two driving wheels, and you have a trailing bogie here. But I have a trailing bogie here instead of it coming off of this the more rear part of the bogie. The boiler is pretty standard. It's pretty bland. It's supposed to have hoses. I didn't build this in bricks, but if I built it in bricks, it would have hoses from these the plates with bars on them, kind of trailing down into these holes, and then they would be pinched in there. And yeah, the front has got the elephant ears. These are a little bit more complicated than the 7777 elephant ears. And then yeah, pretty short cabin. And then the tender was an interesting process to design. This one I made by, this is the motor you can see, and then underneath it, this last wheel set, and actually the entire red part here is articulated. It's on a turntable, and this required some weird building techniques, like basically that entire back part, this entire section here, everything of the wheelbase, like right behind that divide there, that just turns, and then the tender is one solid. The body of the tender is just solid, but the wheelbase here turns underneath the tender. So that was really interesting to design. I'm not entirely happy with how it turned out. It's a weird tender to design because I wanted to have the four wheels. If I upped it to like having the middle wheels having the middle wheels on the motor and then making an entirely separate bogie, it would have like 6 wheels. That wouldn't be right. But if I took the middle wheels out, I feel like it would be kind of unfaithful to the 12-volt design. So here's another image of the tender. You can see it's got the four wheel sets here. And yes, this is the DRB Class 41. I don't think there's anything else about this engine that I wanted to mention. Yeah, I think it was a pretty good render. The tender, again, I'm not entirely happy with how it turned out, but the body of the engine I do like. So the next one I chose to design was the DB Class 65, and as you can immediately tell, this is a tank engine, so it has no tender, and the coal is stored in a reservoir in the back of the engine right here. I really like this picture of the engine, and yeah, so it's a 284 orientation, which was perfect because I can put the motor in these last two wheels, because again, of course, the driving wheels are going to be the larger 7750 exclusive plus service packs, those wheels. And then I could put the motor in the back. And so I will show you the build that I did of that on Studio. This one, the wheelbase is a little bit separate from the body of the engine because I couldn't quite get it to kind of the bogie pins to line up. But yeah, this is it. The body, I don't think it's anything super particularly special to mention. You can see like the window arrangement in the cabin is the same. I've got the two larger windows, and then I chose to put the smaller windows in the back Just like here, you have two large windows, and then there's smaller windows at the front and back, but obviously I don't have the other two windows. Yeah, the boiler, I mean, I think I did everything pretty well, pretty faithful to the actual design. You can see like the engine, the long blocks on the side of the boiler here, again recreated in my design. I'd put doors as well. I do like having the doors in the cabin of the engine. And then moving to the back, you can see the larger part for the coal reservoir, and I put weights. You can see the weights here and here. So that's this part here. And then it does have working lights in the back and front, so there are two light prisms, and then there's one in the boiler as well. And then I should also mention for this one, there's also three working lights. And then I actually, the cable just runs through the tender, just like every other steam engine, because obviously the motor's in the tender. And then moving into the wheelbase of this engine, comparing the two wheelbases, you can see it's a 284, and then mine is the 284 as well. It's got the central bogie here, which attaches because you have the motor in the back, and then you have the central bogie because you can obviously only have 2 points of articulation in the engine, the main body. Then there's one trailing wheel set here, and then this I had to make one solid wheel set. So what I did was I put a 2x6 plate here, and there's 2 points of articulation. So this bogie can kind of rotate freely. If you know the Emerald Knight design, it's a little bit like that, where this just kind of go freely on the track instead of being like articulated. It just can like kind of pivot in two positions, which makes it easier for the engine to get around points. I did actually build this model on real bricks. I never ran it on any layouts because I didn't have a layout built at the time, but I will show some pictures of the engine on the screen right now. As you can see, it looked pretty good, but a little bit bland. I think it might be because the custom engines that I built, they never had any stickers, but all the official Lego sets did have stickers. Yeah, but I don't think there's anything else about this engine. Between these two engines, I'm pretty happy with them. They're not perfect. There are some aspects that I maybe would come back to redesign in the future, but they're good enough that they allowed me to get kind of ready for the final design. So I don't think there's anything else to cover in this video. I just wanted to show you guys the two renders of the engines that I made. So yeah, I think that about wraps up this video. The next part is going to be the final part of the series, and it's going to be me actually showcasing the engine that I finally ended up building. So I'm going to have a showcase on Studio of the render, and then I will show you guys the engine in real bricks. I don't know if I'll have it running, but I'll show you guys. I'll definitely show you guys kind of like a review of an official set. So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video.